Alright, this is lesson 90, identifying the foci of hyperbolas. Okay, so we are continuing on Friday. If you weren't here, we're going to reteach how to do the to graph these. But today the focus is how to find the foci. Okay. Here are the steps. Notice that what's on the top right here. This is the equation for the foci. What do you notice about this equation for the foci?
Addition.
It's addition, which is different than what?
Subtraction.
On which I know that. I know that, but when did we use subtraction?
On the last one.
What's that called? What form? What was the shape or graph called? What? No. Ellipse. Ellipse. Right? Ellipse had a squared minus b squared is equal to c squared. So hyperbola, we got a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, which is the exact same formula. What do we call that formula? What theorem? Pythagorean theorem, right? So the way we figure out the foci, it's related to the Pythagorean theorem, which means it's related to right triangles. Okay? So here are the steps. If you're on the video, please pause. And I'm going to move on. Okay? So number one, we got y plus 2 squared over 4 minus x plus 1/2 squared equal to 1. The first thing we want to do is figure out is major x or major y. Since our y term is in the front and it's positive, it's going to be major y. And then our center is going to be, we're going to look at the x term first. So we have, went too fast there. Okay, x term is negative 1/2, and the y term is negative 2, so our center is negative 1/2, negative 2. Okay, so we're going to go to negative 1/2, negative 2 right here is your center. I know it's major y, so it's going to open up and down, okay? And so, I don't know whose that was, but I don't think it was me. We're going to put our a down. We have to figure out what a is. A is going to be square root of 4, which is 2. And then our b is going to be, there is no b here, so we can make anything a fraction by putting it over 1. So our b squared is 1, so b is equal to 1, okay? So from here we're going to go, since it opens up and down, we're going to put the a going up 2 and down 2. Plot our points, and we're making a box. We're going left and right 1, and then we're going to draw our asymptotes, okay? So this is all from Friday, right? We're going to graph our hyperbola, and this is all what we learned up until Friday. So if you weren't here until Friday, that's what we learned. That's on the last video. Okay, now we're going to put the foci on. So the foci, we have to focus on using that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared formula. Since that's the formula we want to use, we've got to put the appropriate numbers in. So a squared is 4, b squared is equal to 1, is equal to c squared. I know 4 plus 1 is 5, so c squared will be equal to 5. Therefore, c will be equal to the square root of 5, or rad 5. Okay? The way we plot the foci is we have to go from the center on the major axis. We go up rad 5 and down rad 5. So let's predict or estimate how far is rad 5. How big is rad 5? 2 point something, right? It's like 2.2, 2.3. So we want to go from the center. We're going to count up 2 point something, up 2 and a little bit past. So it's going to go a little bit past where, actually that's the wrong set of foci. So we're going to go a little bit past. We're going to go right here. And then down 2 point something. Okay. Whose phone is it? Just turn it off so
That might be me.
okay, can you turn it off so it's really disruptive? And just bring it up here. Put it away. You get back at the end of the period. Can you turn it off?
I just turned it off right now.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so these are your two foci. So now we have to figure out what points are these. Okay, from the center we went. The center is negative 1/2, negative 2. So we went up rad 5 from there. So our first point is going to be, that's up here. We have to think of it as a perspective from the center, so it's going to be negative 1/2, negative 2, and we're adding rad 5 to negative 2, so it's negative 2 plus rad 5, okay? Because rad 5 is an irrational number, okay? On the second one, we have negative 1/2, negative 2 plus rad 5, or I'm sorry, minus rad 5. Okay, and that's the point of the second foci. So that's the goal for today, is plotting these 2 points and figuring out where they exist on your graph, okay? So that's number 1. Biggest focus on number 1 is figuring out the foci. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Figure out what c is and plotting the points based upon that, okay? Number 2. Number 2, I know it's a major X because it starts with a positive x plus 1 squared, right? And we know that a is equal to 3 because a squared is equal to 9. And we know that b squared is equal to 16, so b is equal to 4. Okay? So since that's the case, we need to figure our center. Our center is going to be at negative 1, 0. And we're going to plot that first, negative 1, 0. We know it opens left and right, so we're going to put our a down first, which is 3. So you go to the right, 3. Plot a point to the left, 3. Plot a point, going up 4, plot a point, and down 4, plot a point, okay? You're going to draw a box. And then we have to draw our asymptotes. Now our asymptotes are all dotted lines because we want the dotted lines to represent or to help us guide our lines for our... What is coming out? There we go. Okay, so major X, it opens left and right, so this is from Friday. Once you got this, you're going to go to your vertex. Okay, and this is what we learned up until Friday. Now we need to figure out what are our foci going to be. So we need to use our a squared plus b squared equals to c squared formula, which is the Pythagorean theorem. We know a squared is 9, b squared is 16, which is equal to c squared. 9 plus 16 is 25. So therefore c is equal to 5. Okay. So from the center now, we're going to go left and right 5. So we're going to count from the center, going right 5, putting a point there, and left 5, putting a point here, and these are our foci. Now in this example, it's real nice because it's actually at a lattice point, right? So what is this point right here? We're going 4, 0 on this one on the right. This is the foci, and the second one is negative 6, 0. Okay, that's it. Does that make sense? Okay. So number 1, sometimes it's gonna be harder. You gotta reference a center to find the foci. Number 2, sometimes you don't need to. You might just need to just go straight to the lattice point and write it down. So that's numbers 1 and 2. Any questions on 1 or 2? Okay. So what I'd like you to do right now is let's have 1. Tell the 2 is again. How do we graph, and then how do we find the foci, and then number 2, same thing. How did I graph it, and how did I find the foci? And then once you're done with that, I want you to write these down, okay? Ready, set. Number 3. Okay, so number 3, we got x plus 1 squared minus y minus 1 squared is equal to 1. Now on this one, it could be a circle, but why is it not a circle? Minus. Because there's this minus sign, right? Because this minus sign's here, it's not a circle. But if there was a plus sign here, it would totally be a circle. So that's how important that little sign is. Okay, so I heard someone say it also. You said, was it you, Logan? Said there's no denominator, so what should we make our denominators? Over 1, right? Okay, good. So whenever there's not a denominator, we could put anything make anything a fraction by putting it over 1, okay? So major X or major Y, everyone?
Major X.
Good. No, I put major Y. I'm going to fix that. Okay, so major X, and we got a center of -1, 1. Okay, what's our A?
1.
Good. B? 1, right? So on this particular example, those are both 1. What am I doing here? Okay, so we're going to plot our center. Let's do this one together. Going to go to -1, 1. You should do this on your graph paper, or at least on your notes, okay? Okay, since it's major X, we're going to graph our A first. Even though A and B are the same, you should still have the habit of doing your major axis first. So we got 1 and 1, and then the opposite is also true. Oop. And once you do that, then you can start graphing your box and your lines, okay? So I'll let you catch up for a moment. Oh, sorry. To graph left and right. Oh, sorry. Keep doing that. Graphing left and right. Okay. That's what we should know up until Friday. Now, how do we find what the foci are now?
Ace. Pythagorean theorem.
Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So we're going to start with that formula. Writing that down. So we're putting in a and b. 1 plus 1 is equal to c squared. So therefore c squared is equal to 2. Take the square root of both sides. C is equal to 2. Or square root of 2. Okay, square root of 2 we have to estimate, right? So square root of 2 is about how much?
1.2.
Yeah, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, about there. So we are just estimating, okay? So we're going to go to that value from the center, right? And because it's opening left and right, we're going to go 1.2 to the left and the right, okay? Now, how do we find what these points are now? This is the part that's harder. Since we calculated rad 2 in each direction, we have to reference each of these foci from the center. So we're going to go, the first point here is from the origins -1 plus rad 2, okay, 1, okay. The other one is -1 minus rad 2, 1. Can someone tell me why I have to reference the center now? Why didn't I just go like figure out like it's like 0.1, 0.2? Why did I just put a decimal down? Why did I use a radical? Why did I reference the center? It's not a, well, it is a perfect, well, yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's not a perfect square, right? So we don't, it's not like rad 4, which is 2, right? So we have to, since it's an irrational number, we have to reference the center. That's the answer. Good. Okay. Let's write this down. Okay, good. Number 4 by yourself. This will be the last one. So, if you need help, just look back on the video on anything you need, or come talk to me.